You've spent more nights than you can count feeling stuck, knowing something isn't right. You go to bed with the same uneasy feeling, convinced the day was just another repeat of the last. And yet here you are, going through the motions, hoping that somehow change will just happen. Let me tell you something you might not want to hear. Change isn't some miracle that gently arrives at your doorstep. It's a fight. It's uncomfortable. It demands that you take it by force, because if you don't, it won't come at all. And if you keep waiting, hiding behind distractions and excuses, nothing will change. You already know this. You feel it every night when the lights go off and the silence sets in. Your life doesn't fulfill you, but instead of doing something about it, you tell yourself the same lies. I'll start tomorrow. Now isn't the right time. I need to fix this first. And before you know it, the days slip into years, but tonight can be different. Not because the universe is sending you a sign, not because fate has chosen you for something great, but because you can decide right now to make it different. No permission needed. No waiting for the right moment. Think about it. Your story isn't set in stone. You're not just a background character in your own life. You can change the script. You can rewrite the plot, but there's a price, and that price is the truth. The method is brutally simple. A notebook, a pen, silence. That's it. No self-help books, no waiting for motivation. Just you, sitting down, taking a deep breath, and writing. Write about what's not working. No sugarcoating, no excuses, no softening the blow to make yourself feel better. Because here's the real reason you haven't changed. You avoid looking at yourself honestly. You'd rather dodge the mirror than face what's staring back. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." But before you can do that, you need to figure out who you actually are. And that doesn't happen through motivational quotes or forced positivity. It happens through brutal self-examination, dissecting every mistake, every fear, every doubt that's led you to this point. Dostoevsky warned that suffering is the most powerful tool for self-discovery. But instead of facing it, you've numbed it. You've drowned it out with distractions, empty entertainment, and the hope that if you ignore the problem long enough, it will disappear. It won't. Change only happens when you rip off the blindfold and confront what's underneath. And if you're being honest with yourself, what's underneath is probably a mess. But here's the good news. Messes can be cleaned up, mistakes can be fixed, stories can be rewritten. Look at Tarantino. He wasn't born into success. No connections, no easy path. But he had one thing most people don't, an obsessive passion for telling his own story. Not the one others expected, not the one his circumstances dictated. So ask yourself, are you living your story or are you following a script written by someone else? The difference between people who change and those who stay stuck is simple. The ones who change face themselves honestly. They don't sugarcoat reality. They don't make excuses. They don't hide behind justifications. So here's the challenge. Tonight, when the world is quiet, grab a notebook and write. No censorship, no mercy. Write everything you've done wrong, every bad decision, every fear that's held you back, every excuse you've used to avoid moving forward. Write until it hurts, and when it does, keep going. Then find the solutions, don't justify anything. Don't tell yourself, it's not that easy. Of course it's not. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But here's what they don't tell you. You don't need to fix everything tonight. You just need to make one decision, one small, concrete action you can take tomorrow to start shifting your direction. Because if you wait until you're ready, you'll never be ready. If you wait for the fear to disappear, it never will. The only way to kill fear is to move forward in spite of it. The only way to change your story is to stop waiting for permission and start rewriting it yourself. This is the truth no one tells you. You can change your life in a single night. Not because everything will magically fix itself, but because the moment you decide to face reality without excuses, things start to shift. There is no predetermined fate, no fixed ending. The only story that exists is the one you choose to write, or the one you surrender to. So, which will it be? And if you've read this far, it means some part of you already knows what you need to do. Not because you're feeling inspired, not because motivation struck, but because that emptiness you feel every night is proof that something isn't working. This isn't about luck, circumstances, or the world being against you. It's about your narrative. Your story isn't writing itself. It's being written with every choice you make, and more importantly, every choice you avoid making. You think inaction is neutral? It's not. Every time you put off what you know needs to be done, you are making an active decision to stay exactly where you are. And here's the scary part. If you don't take control of your story, someone else will. The expectations of others, society's pressures, the slow grind of routine, these things will write your life for you if you let them. Look around. How many people do you know who have become background characters in their own lives? Stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, bodies they resent, minds they've lost control of. You know why they're there? Because at some point they decided it was easier not to decide. They convinced themselves this is just life, but that's the most dangerous lie of all. This is life is what people say when they've already given up. Understand this, there isn't just one version of your future. There isn't just one ending written for you. There are hundreds of different versions of you waiting in the shadows, and each one depends on the choices you make starting right now. You can be the version that keeps repeating the same cycles, dragging the same mistakes, finding new excuses to stay the same. Or you can be the version that picks up the pen, sits down and starts dissecting every mistake, every fear, every lie, without anesthesia. And I know what you're thinking. You don't have time, you don't have energy, you don't have clarity. Bullshit. What you don't have is the courage to face what you'll find when you start writing. Because the problem isn't that you don't have the answers, the problem is you do. And you don't like them. You already know what needs to change. You already know what you're doing wrong. You already know where you're failing. But admitting that you are the architect of your own misery, that hurts. Because it means admitting that you could have done things differently, and that realization stings. It stings like hell, but here's the twist, that pain, that's your way out, that's the exit door. If you have the courage to look at your life honestly, you have the power to change it. Most people never get that far. They choose distractions, cheap entertainment, and the false hope that time will fix everything. Let me save you years of disappointment. Time doesn't fix anything unless you use it. Otherwise, it just becomes the graveyard of all the versions of you that could have been. And here's where the story takes another turn. Because there's something people overlook in the process of transformation: the power of silence. Think about the moments when you've truly understood something about yourself. It wasn't in the noise. It wasn't while scrolling, numbing, escaping. It was in solitude, late at night, in those seconds before sleep when there's no escape but your own mind. That's why the method demands the early hours. Night is the only time the world stops interrupting you. It's the only moment when no one expects anything from you, when there are no distractions, just you, alone with your thoughts. And if that terrifies you, good. It means there are things inside you that you've been avoiding, but those are the very things you need to face. The night is your editing room, the place where you cut the scenes that no longer serve you, rewrite the dialogue, shift the tone of your story. You don't have to fix everything in one night, but you do have to start. Because every minute you spend without taking control is another minute where someone else does it for you. Still need proof? Think of Tarantino. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't need approval before he sat down to write. He locked himself in a room and did the work. Because he understood something you haven't fully grasped yet. You don't need anyone's permission to rewrite your story. But here's what no one tells you about change. It's not just about adding the right things. It's about stopping the wrong things. Most people fail because they obsess over building new habits, writing endless goal lists, making empty promises to themselves that this time will be different. But before you can build something new, you have to cut out what's rotten. Imagine your life as a movie you've been filming nonstop for years, badly shot scenes, repeated mistakes, moments that make no sense. Before you can shoot the next chapter, you need to edit the old one. But not just about what you want. Write about what you need to let go of. That toxic relationship, that habit that's destroying your body, that self-defeating thought you replay every day. Find them, call them out, eliminate them from your story, and don't get me wrong, this isn't magic. It's not some cheap motivational trick. It's not about making a list and hoping the universe does the rest. It's about creating an action manual, looking in the mirror tomorrow and knowing that, for once, even if it was just for a single night, you had the courage to face yourself without masks. Because if you do this, really do this, something inside you will change. Not overnight, not easily. But the difference between a forgettable story and one that leaves a mark isn't in the perfection of the protagonist. It's in their ability to change course when everything seems lost. So tell me, will you keep being a background character in your own movie? Or will you sit down tonight and start writing the role you were meant for? Because let me tell you something no one ever says with enough clarity. There is no turning back. There's no sign that will tell you now is the time. No safety net, no guarantees. There is only tonight. Only this decision. Only at this moment. And if you wait too long, if you keep putting it off, one day, you'll wake up and realize there's no time left. That's the fear no one talks about. Not the fear of failing. Not the fear of making mistakes. The real fear is waking up one day and realizing you have no margin left to change. That the script is already written. That the opportunities have passed. That you have become exactly what you swore you'd never be. And the worst part? It won't be some big dramatic moment. There won't be a grand cinematic climax with epic music playing in the background. No. It will be subtle. A series of small decisions until one day, before you even realize it, the story is over. You're building a cage for yourself, one decision at a time, and before you know it, you'll be trapped inside it for the rest of your life. You have to decide. Now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. Because every single day you put it off, the world takes a little more from you. And trust me, the world is more than happy to fill the space you leave unclaimed. If you don't decide who you are, someone else will. And here's the harsh truth. No one is coming to save you. There's no hidden mentor waiting in the wings. No invisible force is going to reach down and pull you out of the hole. No one is going to show up with a perfect answer. The only person who can save you is you. And that shouldn't scare you, it should set you free. Because if you are the problem, you are also the solution. Look around. The world is full of people running on autopilot. People who wake up every day, live the same routine, complain about their lives, and never do a damn thing to change it. You can't be one of them. You can't afford to be. Because if you've made it this far, if you're still here, still reading, it means a part of you already knows you're not meant for mediocrity. The difference between the ones who change and the ones who stay stuck? It's simple. The ones who change act before they feel ready. They don't wait for motivation to strike. They don't wait for fear to disappear. They don't wait for everything to make sense. They move forward anyway, because they understand something most people never will. Fear doesn't go away before you start. It disappears along the way. Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and everything is the same. Same problems, same excuses, same life. A month passes, a year, 10 years, and you're still in the exact same place. How does that feel? If that thought makes your stomach turn, you already have your answer. You can't keep waiting. You can't keep postponing. Tonight, grab that pen, open that notebook. Face reality. Write down everything you've been avoiding. Call out your own excuses. Be brutal, like a director cutting scenes that don't belong. Because at the end of the day, there are only two kinds of people. Those who write their own story, and those who let the world write it for them. Which one will you be if this spoke to you? If there's a sentence that hit you hard, remember it. And if you're truly ready to change, stop thinking about it. Go right. No more excuses.